So in today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how the useFormStatus hook in React 19 works. So let's get started. So this hook gives you a way of checking the status of your form. So let's look at the previous way of doing this and the new one. So let's go into the previous one first. So in the previous version, let's look at the code as well. So in the previous version, you ended up adding the useState, okay? And this is going to check if this form is in a pending state or not, okay? And then on submit, you end up adding the submit function, and you just prevent the form from refreshing the page, and then you just change the state of your useState hook from false to true and then false again. And then I'm going to disable both of these, okay? So let's just do something. Let's just add in this, okay? And if I do this, you can see that both of these are disabled, and after a while you are able to submit the form again. So I've added it into the input and the button, and this is why it's waiting for 2 seconds and then changing the state back to false. So this is a lot of things you needed to do in order to do this, in order to check if your form is being submitted or not, and to wait for something to fully submit and then change the state from false to true. So this is the new way of doing this, okay? I'm actually gonna close this, okay? So this is the new way of doing this, and don't mind this, I'll explain this later. This is what you need to look at, okay? We have a hook called useFormStatus. So what this gives you is pending, data, method, and action. And I'll explain these three later, but this is the thing that you are mostly going to use when it comes to this hook, okay? So I have created this component, okay? All I've added is the form, and this works with the action attribute that has been introduced. So what this does is it takes in a function, okay? And the function that I've just added here is a asynchronous function to do the wait. So for example, let's say you're submitting this data to some kind of API, right? You would send data to the API that is inside of this form, and I've created a form component that is this part, okay? That is basically just a input field and a button. The reason why I've created a form component and then added it into my form is because the useFormStatus hook, the way it works is that you need to add the useFormStatus hook inside of your form, okay? It can't be at the top, it won't work. So that's why you need to create a separate component and then add all of the things that will be inside of your form into that component. And I know this kind of feels confusing, but it is not. Simply think of it like this. Here we had the form, okay? And then we had all of this inside of it. I've just separated this into a separate component. That's it. That is all that this area is. So the way this works is it's taking in the action, okay? And I'm just pausing it for 2 seconds, which you can think of like I'm submitting data to an API and then getting some data back. Also, this is basically your input, and then you are getting you can access this input using this name, like I have done here. Okay, so this is like that. That's I just want to show you this so that you know how to submit data to an API. Okay, so I'm just pausing it for 2 seconds using this. So after this, you have the pending state, and this will automatically change. You don't need to do anything extra. This will automatically change when the form is being submitted. And then this will, you can add it into your disabled attributes, and then I can just get the data, which is this one. Okay, and I can just get the data that is that. And if you don't know what the data is, it's basically whatever input inside of your form is. You can access it using a name. So I'm using data.get and then the name of my input, and what that does is gets the value inside of that. Okay, and the action is basically this function right here, whatever I end up passing into my action. Okay, and the method is basically, by default your form is a get method, but let's say I ended up adding something like method equal to post. Okay, add post. Okay, so this would then be method is post. Okay, so I'm going to show you all of this in, if we go here, and I'm going to actually open up the console. Okay, console. So right now it's null, and all of those end up being null except for pending, which is false. So if I pass in some kind of data, right here, you can see I can put in a message, and this is the action, which is the function like I said, and then the method is get, and then it re-renders the form. That's why you end up seeing this as null again. Okay, so this is how that is working. Okay, so we've understood how pending works. The data that you get, which is any kind of input that you want to access, you just put in the name of that here into this get, and the method is basically whatever method you have, and the action is basically this action. Okay, so that's how the useFormStatus hook works. So I hope you like this tutorial. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.